2 minutes away. So I'll just give a brief about about what the whole idea of newborn screening these webinars was. That we have been seeing so many webinars across which are happening from the time the COVID started in Mumbai, or rather India, from 21st of March. But newborn screening takes a special place, especially for me and for a lot of people, is because it is somewhere in between the obstetricians and the pediatricians or the neonatologists. That is what we call is that perinatology. Now, in perinatology, typically it is a responsibility, or it's a team effort of both the obstetricians and the pediatricians to see that the end result which an obstetrician wants. Obstetrician only doesn't want a healthy mother. The obstetrician also wants a healthy baby. So how do you really achieve that end result is if you have got all the tests and all the screening and everything done, that is when you get a healthy baby also. And that is why this reason of newborn screening becomes very important. And I have been part of the Mumbai Municipal Corporation newborn screening program. And we have seen a lot of data which has been coming in, which was not expected. Means we could not even think that such a large incidence of problems do exist in our society, because being a normal routine screening program. And that is how I started about this idea that we should do some webinars like this. And newborn screening is a vast topic. We cannot complete everything in one session. Even if you want to, it will probably take 6-7 hours. And it becomes too boring over a period of time if you have to continuously listen for several hours. So what we did is just break up different parts and get different KOLs from across India and continue this as an ongoing webinar series. So this is the part 2. And it's 6:30 and we will start with our webinar for today. All the participants have been muted, and all the speakers can mute and unmute themselves as and when required. And we will begin with the webinar, which is part 2. So let me introduce the panelists for today. We have panelists from across India, from Mumbai, from Patna, from Kalyani near Kolkata, and from Bengaluru, and I am from Mumbai. So we try to get different geographical inputs also, because there could be challenges in different parts. There could be statistical differences in different parts of India. So let me introduce Dr. Indranil Datta. He is the Associate Professor and of Durgapur. He is the East Zone Coordinator for President Foxy, winner of AOFOG Young Gynec Award 2019 and the winner of Foxy Korean Award 2013. Dr. Abharani Sinha, she is the Professor, Department of OBGY, Murzapur. She is the past President of Patna Obstetric Gynec Society. She is Executive Member of ISOPAC. She has published several papers in national and state journals and contributed to chapters in Foxy publication. Dr. Ranjan Pejawar, he had sent me a huge CV. I have tried to give you the synopsis of what is the best of him. He's the Chief of Neonatology of People Tree Meenakshi Hospitals. He's the President-elect of 2020 of NNF India. He's a past President of Neonatology Chapter of IAP. He's the past President and Federation of Asia Oceanic Perinatal Societies. He's a National Convener for Saath Saath Joint, that is IAP and Foxy Perinatal Meets. And he's the Editor-in-Chief of the Perinatology magazine. And we have Dr. Uday Pai. He is a pediatrician practicing in Mumbai at Chembur. He has publications in Lancet and several national, international journals. His area of interest is nutrition, immunology, pulmonology, vaccinology, maternal health, child health. So all aspects of child care. He is the Chief National Convener Action Plan 2018-21. And I am the moderator for today, Dr. Saurabh Dani. I'm an obstetrician from Mumbai. And I'm the coordinator for Municipal Corporation of Greater Mumbai Newborn Screening Program. I'm the Vice President of Indian Society for Prenatal Diagnosis and Therapy, and the past President of Association of Fellow Gynecologists Mumbai. So with this brief introduction, the flow of the program is that we had received several questions during the last webinar. And what we will try to do is give an answer to a few of them. And in case if you have any other questions, you are free to always go on to the website and send those queries and we will definitely answer them in due course. So the first question was, is there a screening for infants born with skeletal disorders like osteogenesis imperfecta? So Dr. Pejawar or Dr. Uday, would you want to answer this?
Can I start?
Yes, Ranjan. Yeah, Ranjan.
See, the problem here is, this is a very specific disorder. And if you go through the basic requirements of a screening, it will not fulfill any of the criteria. It is not common. The incidence is somewhere around 1 in 10,000 to 1 in 15,000. It is not easy to treat this, even if you screen and make arrangements for that. So this should not be included in the screening, what we conventionally talk about screening and screening program. However, to answer the question, it can be antenatally detected. It can be, it has got two things which you can do. One is you can, you can have DNA based sequencing, and the other thing is you can have skin biopsies from the fetus and look at the histology or histopathology there. Then as the baby is a little bit older fetus, you can do a skeletal survey. So this is for families who have had children with osteogenesis imperfecta. As you know, predominant inheritance is autosomal dominant, though other forms of inheritance have also been recorded. So basically, or actually, this is a specific problem and will not come under the so-called inverted comma newborn screening or population screening.
Thank you. Thank you. I think this question is basically coming out not as a screening, but because there are a lot of people, especially obstetricians, who get confused between screening and looking at how to find out whether the next child, which is the mother is going to bear, is actually having a problem of the same kind. And here probably what answer, if it's the later part, first part you have already answered. And if it's the later part, if there is a problem of in the first sibling having the similar disorder, then if genetic testing has been done, then in utero, what we can do is we can do amniocentesis or something, karyotyping, and we can do gene mutation studies and find out if the next pregnancy is affected or not. So this is something which is fetal medicine, and this is not newborn screening, as said by Dr. Pejawar.
And please remember, if anything has to be planned and done in the next pregnancy, there should be a specific diagnosis in the previous child. Otherwise, you will have a lot of mutations in these things. So there is a chance you will miss, even if you do amniocentesis, etc., etc.
Yes. So we'll go to the second question. The second question is, since NBS is so important and not very expensive, why not make it mandatory or part of the delivery package? Dr. Abharani Sinha, can you give an answer for this? What do you think?
Well, it should be made, but still, I think in my state, we are in utero stage. Actually, the obstetricians are not convinced that it should be done. As you said, we have to make a movement about it. So once they are convinced, definitely it is the obstetrician who is first seeing the patient, and she should understand what the screening, she should be first convinced, she or he should be convinced first about the screening. Because screening means that there is no signs and symptoms of the disease in the child, but we want to screen it so that we can start the treatment early and we can prevent the disability. So this point has to go in with all the obstetricians. Like when we are doing these first trimester scans, we know that the result can be either positive or it can be negative. And if it is positive, we know we'll go for termination of pregnancy. So we don't care for the unborn, for the born child. Here we have to see that the patient, that the women has now go to the neonatologist where she has to be treated. I think that is why the obstetricians are not taking the responsibility. That is what I feel. But yes, it should be made as a package, and it should be included in the usual labor protocol, all these delivery protocol.
Dr. Datta, what do you think? What is happening in Bengal?
Sir, actually, there are two things which goes on in the obstetrician mind. And coming to the Bengal point of view, when the patient is in pregnancy state and when the patient has delivered. So what I have seen is when the patient is in pregnancy state, the obstetrician is first pressurized by a lot of patients, and especially in the rural areas where we work, about giving less tests, less amount of costly tests. Doctor Saab, suppose if I tell quadruple marker, if I tell anomaly scan, why you are charging so much? If I tell anomaly scan has to be done by the radiologist, why you want radiologist, or has to be done by fetal medicine, especially, why you want all those things? So cost is an important factor in our country. That is number one. So in spite of whatever protocol we give to them, half of the patients will do, half of the patients don't do. Especially middle class, upper middle class may do, but the population which we are catering to in our places around Kalyani and Durgapur, hardly they want to spend even 1 rupee. So they want everything to be given free to them, especially in medical colleges, for example. So if medical colleges naturally anomaly scan, if they're doing it by radiologists, you also must be knowing how many medical colleges have particular radiologists or fetal medicine specialists to do that. They don't have. So that is one. So once this process has gone and the child has delivered, now coming to the newborn screening. So once it has delivered, what I have observed, even in my colleagues, even initial part of my practice also, maybe I will not bother too much about what is going on with the newborn. I'll say, pediatrician, ab tum dekh lo, tumhare haath mein hai. So when the patient comes to me also, maine deliver kar diya, ab unse baat kar lijiye. So that is where we go wrong sometimes. So I think as obstetrician, we also have to counsel while when we are writing the delivery, the discharge note. We have to write like how we are writing immunization has to be given, how we are writing breastfeeding has to be given. We also have to write newborn screening has to be done, consult your pediatrician. So that is one small step. And newborn screening, why it is essential? Because we all know that statistics wise, there are still almost 6 to 7 lakh babies who are dying just after delivery, within 1 month of delivery, due to various factors. So that's why that has to be brought into the population mindset. But again, cost is an important factor in our country, and especially in the rural area.
Yeah. Dr. Indranil, suppose I understand that finance is a big commercial, reasons are multiple, it's across the length and breadth of the country. But as obstetricians, shouldn't we just at least make a remark that we have counseled for newborn screening, then leave it to them whether they are wanting to do or not?
That is what I meant. At the discharge summary, not only writing, we have to tell the party that you have to do these sort of tests if for the newborn, especially for the screening purpose. We have to counsel, document what we have mentioned is very important now, that we have counseled, and also give the advice so that they go to the, because sometimes the patient will say, you have delivered, but you have not given advice. It has happened once in 100 deliveries, one baby would have died due to some reason post-delivery. And due to some reason, I don't know, the pediatrician would have commented something. And the patient will come back to me saying, sir, we had all the money, you could have told us. So that time they will tell, why didn't you tell us before? We could have spent that much amount of money. So I think it is always essential to counsel and document it, as correctly mentioned by Saurabh.
Okay, so yeah. So the next question we have got is when
Can I just add something here?
Sure.
See, the problem is much wider than this. The problem is we have straight away come to the delivery and package and money. Yeah. But is the patient and the obstetrician convinced that a newborn screening is needed?
That's the point.
So first of all, the obstetrician should be convinced, and it should be a part and parcel of the antenatal visits to sensitize them that something like this is there. The patient should know that, especially if they are consanguineous, that this is important, as important or more important than many other things. Then the other problem is, see, when we do population screening has no meaning in India because our health is a state subject, not a central subject. So it is different in different states. The population screening has no meaning in India, 'because we don't have a uniform health system. We have government hospitals, we have private hospitals, we have different types of hospitals. So we have corporate hospitals, we have medical college hospitals, and we have small nursing homes. Imagine, so it is a very heterogeneous sort of this thing. And the third thing is package. Package comes only when it is a private sector.
Yes.
In government hospital, there's no package. Like Dr. Datta very well said, for a person going to government hospital, if you tell him that you have to pay for newborn screening, he says, why is not the government paying? So if the government is not paying, then maybe it is not needed. See, there are a lot of these things we have to educate the doctors. We should start a publicity campaign in magazines, in women's magazine and things like that, for saying that there is something called IEM exists. And this is the problem with that. And this is what is happening in various parts of the world. And we are lagging behind. And in FOGSI should actually say in the antenatal classes or antenatal counseling, newborn screening should be mentioned. There should be a checklist. Patient has been spoken to or discussion done about newborn screening. See, at least in corporate hospitals and bigger hospitals, when they have newborn classes, they already start parenting classes and all, but no mention is made about possibility of IEM. So we should start from that level. Like
Yes.
England, NHS, single medical system, everybody, if some protocol is made, everybody has to undergo newborn screening, and of course the government pays for it. So in India, the whole scenario is different. So we
Correct.
have to now formulate for each of the variants I have said what has to be done.
Correct. So for government sector, definitely the government will have to make a policy decision. For the private sector, so the private sector is something where again the government is not going to pay. So it is the onus on the private doctor themselves to see to it that whether they include it in the delivery package, or they say there is a recommended add-on, and also say okay, this is going to be the additional cost for the test. But as you rightly said, the most important point which is going to be here is counseling in antenatal period. That is the most important point. So whether they do it or not comes as part 2, but telling them about it is part 1.
I'll give you another example. You are talking about newborn screening. So let us compare that to a new, recent, not that old intervention of deferred or delayed cord clamping. We can do that easily because there is no cost involved, and you don't have, though in many countries now they take a consent from the parents to delay the cord. But in our country, we still have not reached a stage, both educational and academically, that we have to ask consent and all, but that can be done automatically if the obstetrician agrees and the pediatrician reminds at the time of delivery, please defer cord clamping, because there is no money involved there. There is no consent required. See, our parents are also very peculiar. The moment the consent comes or moment the money comes, they think this may not be required and need not be done. Now that's the difference between the two interventions I have clearly shown you.
So the interesting part here is, if you look at, we are probably, putting a lot of onus on commerciality, or whether it should be included in the cost of the labor or anything of the sort. We probably fail to actually bring out the sensitivity of the issue. I think, probably I love the way you started the whole program. I mean, you said that you're a part of a, cooperation where you're, now assessing the need for it. Maybe, I think you must now having enough data which you can present. I think sensitizing is actually, like you mentioned, you're come out with surprising data. I think the best way to sensitize a doctor is the possibility of what is missing out and the possibility of what he could have actually diagnosed early or taken care early. I think that is what would probably create a huge onus on the whole thing. Now, looking at the other part of it, probably as obstetricians in your first the first pregnancy, you may probably not have that much of a issue which probably you want to address, because, like you mentioned, if there is a case in the first pregnancy, in the second pregnancy, you're high risk, so okay, I will do the test, which probably then becomes that, okay, I'm in 30 years now, I'm seeing a huge drift that today most families have only one child. That means in the first pregnancy, will I not do it? No, I think when we bring out data, we'll probably bring out the sensitivity of the issue that what you are able to diagnose in vitro or in a pregnancy or antenatally would probably be something which will be extremely cost beneficial and early diagnosis to the mother. So then the commerciality of the whole thing actually doesn't play a huge role. Now, 3 years back when we were speaking of newborn screening, and of course those days we were only doing G6PD and thyroid, and we were doing it only for some and we were not doing it for the others. But now when we are doing it for everybody, the cost has come down tremendously. I mean, today your thyroid test is possible at a very low cost. Your G6PD is possible at a low cost. Similarly, 3 years back, I started doing OA in the clinic. And there was a huge problem, shall I take 50 rupees or 100 rupees? And it didn't matter that time whether 100 rupees is important or not important. And I started doing it for my paying patients. I charged. For the non-paying, I didn't charge. You won't believe it. In Chembur, there were mothers who were discussing that this doctor checks the hearing of the child on the first visit. And they would say, please ask him, can I come and at least get my, even though the pediatrician was different, can I just get my OAE done? So automatically the other pediatricians in the area automatically said, "Arey doc, what are you using?" So instead of 1, 3 watted, then 4 watted, now we have 15 in Chembur who are doing OAE at the first visit. So it's a kind of a situation where, we always look at whether the egg or the chicken first, and then we don't realize and we try to see, oh, will I get money out of it? No. And now today, the good patients pay for the bad patients. I mean, the poor patients. So for a poor, you don't want to charge 50, but the rich will pay you 100. It covers your problem. It doesn't become very, I mean, we only play with the words, whether I should include or not include. You start doing it, people will accept it. And at one time, they'll start paying for it and you'll probably recover more than what you would have probably expected from that particular thing.
This is very true. But, the problem is that when we discuss anything, actually these are not thoughts, but these are actually the questions which have been put across by people who have listened to our webinars. And whether we like it or we don't like it, but the commercial angle always plays at the back of the mind of the patients as well as of the doctors. Though, as you rightly said, in long term, it does not matter, because if you get one affected baby, that probably is going to be much, much costlier. So, antenatal care is very important, no doubt about it. But newborn screening is equally important, which we tend to forget, because somewhere it is just lost in the translation. Okay, why is newborn screening more important? Why is it important to get everything done? And there are very simple things which you can do. If you think that you don't want to force it upon everybody, you can give it in an opt-out consent. You say in your hospital everybody is going to get it, but if you don't want to do it, you sign a letter saying that I am not interested in doing it, and you just let them go away. So there are small things which you can do, definitely. And as rightly said, cost definitely goes down. I remember when I started newborn screening, the cost was pretty high. And today, if you go some basic panels, the cost goes down as low as 1800 or much less than that. And if you look at the panel which we are doing in Mumbai, what we do is thyroid, G6PD, congenital adrenal hyperplasia, and sickle cell. This is pretty affordable. This is quite less than this figure also. So definitely, as more and more tests will happen, more and more doctors start prescribing it, getting it done, the cost is definitely going to go down over a period of time. So it has to be done.
Yeah, 4 years back, these were all in 5 figures. So I mean, they have come down to 25% of what they were. And to use it, I'm quite sure. I mean, most of these labs, because they have multi-kits or multi-testing facilities, they'll say instead of doing 2 out of a pack of 10, I do 10 out of 10. They'll be able to give it at even less than 4 figures then, and
correct. And it is very important. Yes. And it is very important that you choose a good lab and you use the right equipment and everything, because one other thing which we see that is the amount of false positives and false negatives, that unnecessarily creates anxiousness, anxiety among the parents. So choose a good lab and probably, you will be good with it,
Saurabh.
Yes.
We have been doing newborn screening for the last 17 years in my hospital.
Okay.
And all the time we have been doing only for 5, that is thyroid, adrenal hyperplasia, galactosemia, alkaptonuria, and G6PD. The cost started with a very nominal amount, some 500 rupees or so, and now it's come down to even lesser than that. So we now don't make a big issue of it. We do it and it is put in the bill. But to your utter surprise, after a few years, the employee state insurance and Arogya Bhagya, these are the government, this thing, the administrators or the medical officers, whoever it is, came and started asking, what is this 400 rupees newborn screening? So of course we had to explain to them. And even now they have told us that, you can't do it unless and until you give a reason for it. So now every person we give a reason, consanguinity or previous child, things like that. But however, we managed to get it done for about 90% of the people. So you don't have to do the TMS to all the babies. That is my personal view. Do this abridged 5 tests or 4 tests depending on your need in the community and make it almost compulsory. That shouldn't be a problem, I feel.
No, it wouldn't. It wouldn't be a problem. And the focus has to be on doing smaller tests, starting with the smaller panels, and seeing that your reports come on time. Because all these things are more important rather than the number of tests which we are going to do. Getting 100, 200, 500 tests done, that is not relevant at all. It's getting those important 3-4 tests done, which is the most important part. So I will just move ahead and with the next question. What are the signs and symptoms to look out for and how to read the test?
I think since we are doing a screening, we don't need to look at the signs and symptoms, because in this case, it's a screening test. And once we do a screening test, then if there is some abnormality, then the diagnosis is made and then it's treatment and evaluation. So screening means that the person, that the baby has no, baby or the mother has no such signs and symptoms, like ultrasound is not showing any evidence, then only we do a screening.
Yeah, so I think you have hit the nail on the head that you don't wait for the symptoms to come, because as soon as the symptoms start coming in, that means you're already late for doing a screening test. And the population defined for screening test is universal, means for every baby. It is not that a selected group of babies only have to be done. It is every baby has to be done. And how should you read the reports? It's very easy to read the reports. It should be very simple and easy. Most of the reports that you will see with newborn screening labs will just say within normal limits, within normal limits, within normal limits. You don't need to. Yeah.
I think the interpretation should be very simple. Otherwise, if there are lots of histograms and charts and all log values, then really the gynecologists, they are bugged up. So if it is given in simple ways, as you have showing here, it will be really easy for the gynecologist to interpret.
No, and I'll tell you, if the values are given to you, and if you don't interpret them correctly, then the medico-legal responsibility falls on you.
Definitely, that's true. But it should be in a simple way.
The labs tend to make it very complicated by giving.
Yes.
I mean, the 1 page will be report and 4 pages will be explanation.
Yes.
And that thickness of the report itself will make the mother anxiety. You check the blood pressure, it will be high.
But that is given by the lab to prevent themselves from medical-legal problem.
Once if you get a report on your WhatsApp, the main page is missing and the other 3-4 pages are there. And you're looking for the report. It happens.
Actually, the disclaimers will be using so many double negatives and all. Nobody will be, if you can't read it in a hurry. But coming back to the question, Saurabh, the signs and symptoms, however, what Abharani Sinha said, absolutely right. But there is a group of children where your abridged test, what you are going to do, will come as normal or so. And before that result comes, babies will develop signs and symptoms of query IEM. Those are the babies where you have to send it for TMS scanning, because they will be most of the time, fatty acid or glucose or amino acid thing. Those that we have to be there. For that again, awareness is most important for the clinician, because in neonatology, one single diagnosis called sepsis can mimic all diseases. As a neonatologist, I'm saying it can mimic, like, in the olden days, they used to say, anything can be tuberculosis. Same way in neonatology, when such things come, which is very easy to diagnosed as sepsis, and then the baby succumbs, and you have septic shock as the standard cause of death. So this is something where the clinicians should have a acute or deep sense of awareness that such a thing called IEM exists.
Correct.
And
I remember
the total incidence, you know, we think of single disease and say it is 1 in 5,000, 10,000, but if they are all put together, it could be as low as 1 in 800 or maybe, you know, like that.
Correct.
So then signs and symptoms picking up is very, very important.
I remember one very nice sentence by one senior neonatologist. He said that if there is no reason for a baby to have sepsis, the chances of sepsis is low. It is always something else. Because if your delivery is normal, you have used all asepsis precautions. If probably it's an LSCS baby where you don't expect any other problems to happen, why should that baby land up into sepsis? Correct. Probably you are looking at some underlying different problem and which is mimicking like a sepsis, but actually not sepsis.
And like all of you rightly said, the cost of TMS and those things are coming down drastically. The more number of investigations you do, the cost will come down. And when you are sending many, you can always request or twist the arm of the provider, please do these 1 or 2 free for us.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
In fact, I think, you know, I mean, if we really want to take the depth of the study in our country, you know, we do not have a system of analyzing. I mean, even if you look at third trimester deaths, or, you know, if they are stillborns, or let's say the infant mortality, you know, those who probably die in the first 15 days, we do not have an analytical system to say that why would be a sudden death? What would be the reason for the sudden death? And if you actually look at it, I mean, a lot of these causes which might come out, and we don't have a way of studying those particular modalities at all in our country, either by investigating or doing a genetic profile, or, you know, looking at let's say further evaluation of these cases for sudden death, which was progressing very, very well till 8 months, or progressing very well till 7 months without any signs or symptoms. I think a lot of this data, probably if you look at it deeply, will be in a better position to actually create an awareness on the importance of NBS.
Yeah, this is very true. And I could have probably come out with a lot of data from municipal corporation, but unfortunately COVID was there, and for 3 months we did not do anything in Mumbai because of the COVID scenario. So now we've restarted the newborn screening program in Mumbai. So I'm sure with the end of 1 year, we'll have a good data and corporation will be able to present a good data about what is the incidence. But very true about beliefs, you know, that there is a big belief that is, at least in the minds of obstetrician, that every mother who is hypothyroid, the baby should be screened for thyroid. And the fact is that all the thyroid which we have found in the babies, these mothers were totally athyroid. They've never had any thyroid problem at all. Nobody in the family also. So, you know, there are some beliefs that we have been carrying on with years together. Those need to get shattered, you know, over a period of time. And that is where this awareness issues and bringing all of you on this platform is very important. You all are KOLs in your own respect, you know. Somebody in north of India, somebody in east of India, somebody in south of India, somebody in west of India. So probably I've got the whole India here. As KOLs, maybe all of you, one after the other. On my screen on top is Dr. Pejawar, so I'll probably start with him. So what do you think as a KOL you can do to create awareness on newborn screening?
As I said initially, the awareness on the part of the doctors, awareness on the part of the parents, especially in the cities and other places. See, whenever an investigation is demanded by a mother, that means your population is aware of that. You can be very happy. So we have to come to a stage where the parent herself says, have you done the newborn screening for my child? She should ask the pediatrician. If we reach that stage, then we are definitely successful. For that, we have to have a long drawn plan about media, newspapers, people talking about IEM. The second one is a very difficult one. I say that is the awareness for the medical personnel,
healthcare practitioners.
That is because IEM falls on a sort of no man's land. neither here nor there. So both FOGSI, IAP and NNF. And this is where I will definitely discuss with you all to have a program wherein all three of us join together and we have a very good program, module or something to spread the awareness. And cost is not a problem. I'm telling you, I will tell you the experience with surfactant. When surfactant came, the cost was a big thing and people used to, crib about it. I must thank the obstetricians for this surfactant thing, because now whenever they expect a preterm delivery to happen, they always tell them, don't worry, there is some special medicine which the baby doctor will give. It will cost a little bit, but you be ready for that if it is a preterm child, and it is very, very effective and it will work in most of the babies. So with that, this thing, assurance from the obstetrician, they don't bat an eyelid about surfactant. And pediatricians who is to think of the cost, you must remember many a times, it's not the patients who worry about the cost. It is somehow, I don't know why, we worry about the cost. So if you give surfactant and if the baby remains 1 day less in the NICU, that cost is recovered. Same way with newborn screening, something similar. So if the obstetrician who knows the baby 9 months before I know, and the obstetricians knows the patient's relatives several months before I know as a neonatologist, puts in one word about newborn screening, I think the situation will improve vastly.
Okay, so now we'll want a word from the obstetrician so that they put in a word to the parents. So Dr. Sinha, what do you think maybe in the next year as a KOL, what do you plan to do or what you can do and you can achieve to create more awareness on newborn screening?
See, as Dr. Ranjan has rightly said, first of all, we have to make our obstetricians, we have to sensitize our obstetricians. And for that, we have to hold, as you said, meetings, seminars, and we have to do it, in a explosive way. Because not much is being done. It's
exactly.
Not much.
I agree,
People are
madam.
not aware, our obstetricians are not aware about it.
Absolutely, madam. Means I agree. We all agree that that is required. What I want to know, a commitment coming from your end as to what you will do in next 1 year for exploding newborn screening.
Okay, definitely. I'll call you first to my society so that
virtually I can come anywhere. It's okay.
Yes, so that you can come and again emphasize about it. You see, you have to hammer things. You cannot do it in 1 day. You have to hammer the things. And at least if we start 2-3 things, just the basic, like the congenital hypothyroidism, the congenital adrenal hyperplasia and G6PD deficiency, or hemoglobinopathies and sickle cell, at least if we do this much and we start with a small panel and let everyone start doing it. At least in public sectors, we won't be able to do it because the government, this Ayushman Bharat and all, they will not allow us to do a single thing from outside. So at least in private setup, if they start doing it, and as sir has rightly said that if the mother, she comes and tells that I want a newborn screening, or tumhara hua hai, अरे तुम्हारा हुआ, अरे तुम्हारे डॉक्टर ने नहीं किया है. If this word goes around, that each and every person knows that yes, मेरा बच्चा बचा रहेगा अगर newborn screening होगा तो. So like this word should go amongst the mothers also. That is very important. So and the third thing, Saurabh, one more thing, that is these labs, they are not very active in our part. So I think these labs, they also play a part. They should also come and sensitize the doctors that we are coming with these packages. You can go, we'll start with this cost. So these things are being done in metros. It's not a big problem, but they have to come to cities and smaller cities, and there the doctors are going to do it. Once they are convinced, they will do it. The obstetricians will do it. But I think these labs should also reach to them. This is my opinion.
Yeah. So Dr. Pai, what would you promise to do in next 1 year?
Saurabh, our commitment is absolutely complete, and Ranjan has brought it out very well. I think, it has to be a joint effort. There's no doubt about that. I think, obstetricians and neonatologists and perinatologists have to come on the same page. And you know very well that ever since we started the SAT program, you know that the things that have changed in the obstetrician's mind has become dramatic, and particular thing percolates down. Please understand that whatever you start telling obstetricians and what they tell patients, today the patients on the social media discuss it with other mothers, and that passes down. And both Dr. Ranjan and Dr. Sinha brought it out very well. The day the mother questions you and says that why are you not doing that doctor is doing, that is where awareness comes. And from the Satsat experience of 3 years, I'm telling you, I mean, now our cesarean mother actually says, I can't feed. She'll actually ask the doctor, but doctor, I can do KMC. KMC was never a word which was used 3 years back. Today, even the patient, it is that kind of a percolation which takes place, that the patient starts questioning the doc, I can do KMC, please suggest how I should do, teach me how I should do. And then automatically you feel, boss, if I don't do, she's going to probably go and tell, hey, doctor ko samjhane ko nahi aaya. And that is the bigger fear than commerce in the end. At the end of the day, you don't want that to come into the situation.
Yeah, right.
So yes, coming on common platform, creating a proper standard procedure which is easy to implement and easy to practice is the way forward. And that is what we as KOLs should get together and do it for our obstetrician, for the pediatrician, for the neonatology, at the end, for the general public. And like Dr. Sinha said, see, I mean, today we know that there are few companies or few labs which are doing this test. And like Saurav said, for every 10 that you get them done privately, you can definitely tell them to do 3 free. And they'll be happy, because at the end, they also want to collect data which they want to present tomorrow. I did 500 cases and this many came positive, which becomes important as something which probably scientifically will make it very essential why we need to do this program in a bigger way. Thank you.
Yeah. So, Indranil.
What I feel, there are two things to look at into it. For the screening purpose, there has to be awareness amongst the doctors and the physicians who are treating, and the awareness among the population. So regarding the doctors, it has to start from the root level, sir. Root level means this newborn screening has to be incorporated in the part of the history taking procedure. So me, as a part of a new coordinator of the Teachers of India, what we can do, we can push this particular thing into the protocol where we are teaching our students about history taking, particularly in the final year, where this has to be included, just like how we include animal scan has to be done, just like how we include dating scan has to be done. We include certain iron tablets has to be given, all those things, questions. This also has to be the part of that history taking procedure. We have to start from the root level. Secondly, once this is put into that, we can always take help of the association, big associations like OPSI, IAP and IMA. We can coordinate and we can make something like the breastfeeding week. There should be something like newborn screening week. That has to be promoted. Some week related to newborn screening week or something awareness like similar lines on how we do the cancer screening, all those things. So awareness among the public, awareness among our doctor, and the particular change in the teaching protocol, just addition of one more line. That is what usually the MBBS graduates, because we still know, we know that the gynecologists are dealing with the pregnancy patient, but still lot of patients are going through the hands of MBBS doctors or interns. So we have to start from the root level rather than concentrating only on obstetrician, because we will learn it, but we have to start from the root level itself.
So Indranil, September is International Newborn Screening Month. It is celebrated worldwide as an International Newborn Screening Month. So probably this September, every society, if they can do something about newborn screening promotion activities, it will be really great and give a lot of explosive.
That's what I was telling. That month, that is okay, but we have to bring it like something like shortened days, some 1 or 2 days, 3 days, just like to bring it into the mind of the public. We know Correct. It's a newborn screening month, but yes. I don't think public knows much about it.
Correct. So another thing, I think on a lighter vein, if you just ask one question to the PG student that what is newborn screening, I think the next batches everybody will start knowing about it.
Yeah, correct.
Correct.
So we have to incorporate that practice as teachers amongst ourselves also, like asking that question. That is also important.
Correct.
So it will automatically be. Yeah.
So we have 2 obstetricians, myself excluded. So
this is one
very,
from anything.
So, very simple question which I have seen very often. Why are obstetricians not embracing newborn screening as they have done with dual marker or NIPT or cord blood storage? You know, if you look at the cost, see, means if I look at the questions which I have raised from the last webinar, everything was related to the cost. Okay. If you see the cost of dual marker, it is nothing different from what a newborn screening cost of the test is. NIPT is almost around 70, 60. It was started with 75,000. Now it has come down to 20, 25,000. You know, in some matter of few years, it has come down so less. Cord blood storage still is hovering somewhere around 60 plus.
Yeah.
Okay, so and the number of NIPTs or cord blood storage that we see compared to that, the number of newborn screening tests we do are pretty low. I can't explain why. Maybe you can explain us why.
I say there's only 3 words: awareness, awareness, awareness. Our obstetricians are still not aware that newborn screening should be done, and it has to be done. So we have to create and sensitize awareness and sensitize our obstetricians. I think that will, because initially even the first trimester markers or this dual marker were not being done. Slowly it picked up. And because once you get a dual marker report, you are the person who has to do the whatever intervention you have to do. But in case of this newborn screening, you have to combine with the pediatrician. So I think it is the onus on both the obstetrician as well as the neonatologist to take this forward.
So I hope it is not like a US versus China relationship that we both are saying that you should be doing something, and in short, it is the victim is newborn screening. You know.
No, we have to go hand in hand.
There's
Not
one
like
point here,
US or China.
Saurabh, the triple marker, double marker and all are involved in the direct work of an obstetrician.
Yes, that will yes.
Okay. Whereas this one, as I said, you know, take for example the adolescent immunization, or the our
EDAP.
no, cervical cancer
HPV
vaccine. That is something which you are doing for things which may not show immediately and for prevention of certain things. So that takes somehow that takes the lower priority, which should not be the case. That is the problem. See, whatever we do, triple marker and other things are directly involved with the obstetrician's practice, obstetrician's patient, that is the mother's well-being. Whereas this is something, there are so many interventions which we rely on obstetricians. I'm glad to say that we have had very good results like cord clamping, KMC, prevention of prematurity, and various things like that, breastfeeding. We have held hands together and we are doing better than before. I think even newborn screening should come to that category.
I think Ranjan has put it very nicely. I mean, and of course, I think, you know, Saurabh, to a large extent, I think, you know, in the last 3 years, we have probably built up bridges very well today. Between the IAP and Foxy, the bridges are built so well. We are no longer saying, oh, you should have done this or I should have done this. You know, it's like, yeah, we all should, you know, let's say practically put it into ourselves and percolate it down that yes, this has to be done. So automatically, a lot of things probably become, oh, I mean, even previously used to say, oh, usne kiya nahi. That is not the question we have to ask. You know, it has to be, I mean, it has to be a hand holding where, yes, we inculcate a habit by which we say, yes, I am not only responsible to deliver a healthy child, but a healthy child will be healthy later also at the end of the day. So it has to be that kind of a hand holding which comes to the mind. Then I think that sensitivity of the whole issue of whether I point finger or you point back to me doesn't, you know, actually doesn't come in the picture then.
Okay. So if for some reason, either for any reason, if it is not done at birth, and then the baby comes for first vaccination to the pediatrician, do the pediatricians demand a newborn screening or ask them that whether you have done a newborn screening as a routine, or it is even at that point of time it is being missed out?
Yes, yes, especially I have, even today I come across babies coming, you know, for follow-up. May not be from my hospital, but from anywhere. After 2-3 weeks, and the thyroid screening has not been done. I consider it as a criminal offense in the current day, at least a thyroidic screening is not done. I think most of the governments and municipal hospitals, everybody are now doing thyroid screening in major cities and district headquarters. So I even today, I occasionally come across, and of course I immediately send, and I have a sigh of relief. It comes as negative, but if it comes as positive, of course I feel very bad for several days after that. Then there is another category of mistakes that happen. This I want to warn all people who are already doing newborn screening. If we do screening and if we don't chase the results and inform them to the parents, then it is, the whole purpose is defeated. And I would consider it as a big offense. In my hospital, one fellow, neonatal fellow, is in charge of all the newborn screening. He or she makes sure the screening is done, the results are corrected, they are conveyed to the OPD, or they are conveyed to the parents if they are going outside the city, and that has to be done, and the tick mark and signature has to be there. So one PG is given charge of newborn screening, because that newborn screening also involves hearing, saturation, all those things. So
I think
So,
sort of the
yeah.
interesting part here is, actually, even when we probably put together a practical or an implementable idea, we have to probably look at, the whole issue is there are some who will probably juggle between the two. In the sense, the obstetrician will say that I do antenatal diagnosis. Yeah? I mean, you do an antenatal screening. So in antenatal screening, you do look at dual markers, triple markers, in NPIT, and maybe cord blood banking as antenatal. And then we have newborn screening. And there are a lot of people who say, oh, I did my antenatal diagnosis, I did my antenatal screening. The whole idea is we have to bring these two together and try to say that there's an important antenatal screening is for a particular reason, and newborn screening is something which you will probably look for the future of the baby's development and growth, which is very important. Otherwise, what happens is between the two, there's, oh, I did my part of the thing, now the rest will be done later. I think that little merging we'll have to do, as to say that antenatal diagnosis is not the only crux of the whole thing, and we'll have to bring it out in a better way as an awareness program.
Yeah. So maybe if we just start asking these questions very often, so whenever if the patient is coming, sometimes in obstetrics we are very familiar with the scenario. They get delivered somewhere else and they come somewhere else for post-delivery follow-up. Even at that point of time, even if we are not looking at the baby, but just asking one question: did you get your newborn screening done of your baby? Obviously, since they're coming to that question, you have to start raising those flags more often wherever you have the opportunity.
yes.
And Dr. Ranjan, I think the other thing, even amongst pediatricians today, there is such a huge myth that we'll have to clear. There are a lot of times where you have a hypothyroid mother who is on thyroid and is delivered, and you do a umbilical cord level and the thyroid level comes low. Yeah, in spite of the mother being on therapy, I still know a lot of pediatricians who say that I will repeat the test after 6 weeks and postpone the whole thing. Probably we need to sensitize the need for, if you are doing an umbilical cord testing and you have a report on your hand, you probably need to look at it very deeply and not say, okay, I will repeat it after 6 weeks and see whether the child is still hypothyroid.
Uday, the myths are many, because if the mother is deficient in thyroid, which lot of mothers are,
yes,
which the obstetricians are picking up, they immediately feel that the child will be affected. To a large extent, mother and child have a different axis for thyroid. That is something which we have to emphasize. And if there is, thyroglobulin defect and things like that, that can be, affected. The baby can be affected also. There's a little bit of, fine print there, which has to be this thing. But I would like to bring a point here to the panelists, that we have missed one category of people regarding awareness, and that is the nurses of maternity ward and the nurses of pediatric and newborn ward. See, with my experience, I can tell you that as far as three things, not all the aspects, three branches: vaccination, baby care, and immunization. Immunization, baby care, and one more is there. nutrition. The nursing personnel have a great influence on the parents because they are the ones who are with the parents soon after the child is born. And if they also can put a word and they can speak the parents' language at their level they know or they can understand, that will be great. Most of the MNCs have now realized that utilizing the services of the nursing personnel in parent education goes a long way. And I think newborn screening also falls under this category.
So, do we have to do a newborn screening test, or we can just look at the baby clinically and say, okay, this baby has this problem?
No, you have to do.
Okay, so I think we are end of the awareness part of today, and we have around 5-6 minutes left, and there have been a few questions which have been pouring in, and I will just go through that and let if you can answer the questions.
I think, one of the audience there is Vikas Bhatia, who is working for an NGO.
Yes.
And I think he has so much knowledge. I think Saurabh is the same one who we met in Jaipur.
Yes. He's the same one we met at Jaipur. Yeah.
In fact, he's doing so much work in that area. I think, of course, once Saurabh also has a little amount of access and, we present this data. Actually, the amount of data these NGOs have who are working in this sector and who have found that lot of these cases who probably we miss out, and maybe infant mortality or something of that sort, and even developmental delays today are related to a lot of these thyroid problems or CH problems, and we see so much of them today. Ranjan, don't we? We see so many of ADS problems which we have no cause to give to, and we don't actually are able to label them into any medical problems. But yes, isn't it time that we started looking as to what may be the reason for so many of them to have these kind of problems in future?
And Saurabh, in the chat box, there are a few good suggestions also.
Yes, absolutely. So this is all the data which we'll compile for the next webinar. So but there are a few things which we will want to answer right away. Is that if a child is not tested at the time of birth, then is there an age specification for a particular testing? And the answer is that earlier the better. It is always earlier the better. You don't need to wait. But for some reason, if it has not been done, then you should do it as soon as possible.
Better late than never.
Better late than never. Absolutely correct. Then which states? Currently, that has already been answered. Which states are doing it in our country? That is Chandigarh, Kerala, and Goa. They are doing it as a state program. Mumbai Municipal Corporation is doing it as a public health program. There was a very good suggestion, which I think Dr. Pejawar must be talking about, is that there should be a compulsory format attached at the back of the neonate file for NBS screening along with the vaccination schedule. Maybe another thing which I just think which has happened, which I have experienced, is that one of the reputed schools in Mumbai requested for a newborn screening result, and only if you show the result, only then you can get admission.
Like the Aadhaar card.
Saurabh, see, as far as the graduates from the neonatal intensive care unit and the postgraduates from neonatal intensive care unit, the babies, are concerned, when we ask about ROP and things like that, the newborn screening is always, inquired upon. It's the general pediatrics OPD and places like that, one has to be more tighter.
Correct. So I'm sure there will be a lot of questions which will come across to a lot of people even after the session is over. And the best part is we have that option available. You can just WhatsApp your questions or whatever they are on the WhatsApp number which is there. My email ID is also there. There are some interesting papers which are available, which has been written by Mr. Muken in International Journal of Neonatal Screening. So if anybody is interested in getting that paper to read across, which gives you a scenario of what is the Indian scenario, right? What is the current condition of newborn screening in India? So that also is possible. If somebody wants to do one-on-one discussions on their specific problems, we can't address globally. We are going to address global issues here. But if there are some specific nuances which are there specifically in your own practice, and you want to discuss face to face, I think you can always get in touch with me and we can arrange to do that. And if there are any questions or any topics or any suggestions which you have, which we can include in the next webinars, that also is something which you can send across your queries and post it across by email or by WhatsApp. And please share this website with your friends and colleagues and ask them to see the recorded part of the program and do attend for the next session. And it was interesting and very interactive session with our panelists from across India, from all the 4 zones. And I hope you continue the good work you're doing in the field which you do. And Dr. Uday Pai has to say something, and then we'll quickly wrap up and close this session for today.
So, Saurabh, are you aware that whichever states have included the newborn screening, is it 100% or is it selective? Some hospitals?
No, no, it is not. It is most of the public health programs are always done in the public hospitals.
Okay.
So the private sector is always left to its own decisions.
Like I said right in the beginning, Uday Pai, in India, because of the anatomy and physiology of our health system, nothing can be 100%. Nothing can be population.
Nothing universal.
Yeah. So if you remember the Goa state program, which was started a couple of years, which was there for 5 years, that was only restricted to the Goa Medical College and the hospitals which are under the state government. Even in Bombay, if I have to tell you, the newborn screening program, which is under the Municipal Corporation of Mumbai, it is in the medical colleges of there. It is not there in JJ Hospital because
it's
that
not
is a
in
state
JJ,
government.
yes,
No,
it
is a
JJ.
state government hospital. That is why. But the 4 medical colleges which are under the Municipal Corporation, that is where this program is going on.
Thank you very much, Saurabh. It was excellent. I mean, thanks for all the panelists. I mean, virtually we have met. Maybe next year we'll probably meet personally. But this year,
Sure.
No, this is very good because this is the beginning. Something has to start somewhere.
Yes.
And I'll hold you on to your words in the due course of time. Thank you everybody for being here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Saurabh. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, all panelists.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Varsha.
Thank you to all the panelists and Dr. Dani.
Yeah, and I would like to thank Neogen and Trivitron for helping us in making these events and programs on an ongoing basis without any requirement from